Applåd, Alexandra Berg.
Changing the world. How do we actually change the world? Isn't that really, especially in a time like this, something that is quite overwhelming? Even imagining, thinking that you can change the world. Especially when we have, like today, we have war, we have stories about sexual harassment, we have all the environmental issues, we have inequality, we have the refugee crisis. There's so many things in the world that I see right now that needs to be changed. But can I do anything about this? Or can you, each and every one of you, do something about changing the world? Well, for many years I was sort of overwhelmed by the question, but then I started realizing, what if I turn to some wise leaders like Gandhi? Do any of you know what he said? Yes, I see someone nodding. Exactly, be the change that you want to see in the world. And if you turn your perspective and start looking from that perspective instead and see, how can I actually go out and how can I change my world? What can I do then? Because isn't it like that the world is actually composed of each and every one of ours, small worlds. So if I go out and make a change, doesn't the entire big picture at least be a little bit changed by that? I see someone nodding. I'm so happy about that. Thank you. Good point for me. So that's why I will talk today about what can we actually do. And the focus that I will have today is how we can change according to and listen to our values, and also see what is it that drives inner motivation. So that is what I will going to talk about. But I will start with a personal story. And I want to take you back to April in 2009. This was in it was an average day for me. I was taking off to my work. I was a manager at passenger services out at Arlanda Airport. I had 150 employees who was actually doing something really important. They were helping people to see the world. They helped people who had disabilities, so they couldn't get on the plane themselves, or they helped children that had parents who were divorced and had to fly on their own from Malmö to maybe New York and through Stockholm and things like that. My employees did important stuff. But I was on my way. I took the Arlanda Express out. Maybe you've been at Arlanda, so I took the escalators up, just like everyone does, up to Terminal 4. I walked past security control. But for us, the staff, we had to go through the basement, so it was quite dark and rough in there. But I walked through the security control, and then I went into the elevator. And just as a normal day, the elevator rised up to my floor, and the doors opened. And the doors closed. And the elevator went down. And like some kind of autopilot, I managed to walk and bring myself home. And I fell into bed with a migraine, and I was wiped out for 2 days with a migraine. And I couldn't understand why. Why did I get a migraine right now? Because I had an important job. What I was doing was important. And previously in my life, every time that I had a migraine, it was like 5 times, not that many, but every time it had been because of that I hadn't listened to signals from my body. And then the system shut me down. But this time I couldn't understand why. But still there I was for 2 days with a migraine. I want to pause there. Because I said before, I was on my way to my job. And I felt as if I was quite engaged at my job at that moment. I thought it was important. And I want you to think about how engaged, how committed are you at the job that you're doing right now? On a scale from 1 to 7, where 1 is not committed at all, 7 is, wow, it's Monday morning, I'm going to go out and go to my job, and it's so interesting. You don't have to say it out loud, but think for yourself, from 1 to 7, how committed are you? Just remember that number. There is actually a Gallup does surveys each year when they go out also and see how committed are people, how engaged are they in their jobs. And they go out and do this survey in 140 countries actually, so it's a wide world survey. And they, now we see if we're going to have this working. The people answer into, and they put them in 3 different categories. So they see if the workers are engaged. That means if they work with passion and feel a profound connection to the company and drive innovation and new clients. Or they see if they are disengaged or not engaged, when they are essentially checked out, where they put in time but not passion or really their heart in what they're doing. And then we have the 3rd category. These are the people who are actively disengaged. They're not just unhappy, they're actually undermining what the engaged workers are doing. So what do you think about in Sweden? How does it look like in Sweden? Well, I won't give you more time to think about it, but these are our numbers. And we're better than the world. And here you see how terrible it is, actually. And if you think about this, like, you know those church boats that we have in Sweden? If you can see, if you have a boat with 100 people sitting in it, you actually have, then, here in Sweden, you have only 16 people are actually trying to get to the goal that your company, or that is the church at this time, they're trying to move in and row in that direction. And the others are trying to, then we have 11% rowing in the other direction, and we have 73 sitting in the middle just being weight. How quick do you think that you get to your goal then? The effect is like 5%. So because of that, then we can see how can we actually make people become more motivated? Well, research has said that being clear on your values is extremely important. And you know, most companies, they work with their organizational values. And they talk a lot about that. But when you look to research, it's being clear on your personal values that matter to how engaged you are. So this is actually relating to, you remember the number you said before, from 1 to 7. Well, if you're really aware of your personal values, then you can see 6.26 are then, that's the number on engagement you have if you're working at a company and you are aware of your personal values, compared to if you're not aware of it, it's less than 5. This is the reason why it's so important for companies actually to work with their employees' personal values, because that is what drives inner motivation. But then I said in the beginning, we're talking about how we can change the world, actually. We're talking about a bigger context. And another survey, World Value Survey, they also go out across the world and they try to see what values and what difference between values in different cultures and different contexts. And they found 2 different axes that can explain 70% of the differences between countries. On the left-hand side, we go from traditional values, which means cultures where religion, family, traditions are important, going up to secular, rational values. That's places where it's up to yourself. You're like a blank sheet of paper, actually, so you can make up your own mind what you want to do. On the bottom here, we go from survival values, having food on the table, somewhere to live, to self-expression values. Well, this is the map where we plot out all the cultures. And here you see, has anyone seen Sweden? Yeah. And we are the country lagom. Not at all. We're actually one of the most extreme countries in the world. Because here in Sweden, it's really up to you. You can be whatever you want, and you're supposed to express yourself, but you have nothing to hold on to. That can be one of the explanations why mental health is actually declining as much as it is right now. And when we meet each other in this multicultural context, as we are now with refugees coming in to our country, then we can also see that since we have different backgrounds and so on, we have very different views of the world and different values. And I believe that we need to start addressing each other actually like individuals, not just putting a stamp or a label on your head thinking that you believe in this or you believe in that just based on where you come from. But to actually address that we do have different values. And I normally do an exercise on this, where you can see it's extremely powerful and really, really interesting when we, through storytelling, sit down together and talk about what is really important for us. And one of my participants, he actually said that by listening to this other person for 10 minutes, and he listened to me, it was as if we fast-forwarded our relationship 2 years ahead of time. And I actually know that person better than I know many of my friends because we started talking about what is really important. Yeah, 10 minutes goes really, really quickly. So I have really interesting slides that you won't be able to see, like this. But that was actually about, yeah, no, I won't say, but it's actually where the inner motivation comes from and what is important for you to actually look into. If you want to become motivated from within. But I want to end with also, I want to also encourage you by saying that it's extremely powerful and important to also think about your strengths. And one of the reasons why I was feeling so lousy that day at Arlanda was because I had a really important job. We did great things. I could decide a lot on my own. I had a lot of autonomy because I was the manager, so I could decide a lot. But and I used my strengths a lot. But the only strengths that I could use right then was the ones that were about being cost efficient. And what I really love is people and working with people and seeing them thrive and grow. And I didn't have time for doing that. So if we're going to go out and if we're going to change the world, we actually need to use the strength that gives us energy. And we can all do things by each and every one of us can go out there and be the change that you want to see in the world. So I want to end with this. So let's all of us go out there and change the world. Thank you.